So I want to welcome y'all to another episode of All About Perspective podcast. This one is a public service announcement kind of episode just because of everything that's going on in Cuba. And unlike all the other fake Cubans out there, I felt like this is an opportunity and a conversation that needs to be had between actual Cubans. I want this conversation to be intellectual. I want this conversation to be informative. I want this conversation to be intimate and for the people to know who aren't brainwashed by national media to know what's really going on with Cuba. So putting my pride aside, I felt like it was an opportunity for me to bring people that feel and live day by day of what's going on in Cuba, and there's no better way to do it than with Daniela's parents. So with that being said, I want y'all to stay tuned for this great episode that's gonna be coming on the way. If you don't know already, now y'all know. There's some shit going on in Cuba, and y'all gotta know about it. So enjoy this episode, and I don't know if they're gonna do it, so I'm gonna do it right now. I want to wish y'all great health, stay blessed, make sure to keep them eyes open, them ears peeled, because, there's a lot of fake news going on out there. And most of all, much love. Peace.
Getting close here.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
So is what's going on in Cuba new?
It's not new. Not new at all. It's been going on for 62 years of dictatorship, of misery, of oppression, and lack of freedom. So it's something that is meant to happen. Imagine that, how many generations of Cubans have died waiting for this moment. So finally, it's the first time that people are really on the streets trying to do something, trying to overturn the government. So it's that's the only thing that's probably new, because it's a wake up. It's a wake up. People are waking up, and it's sad at the same time because a lot of people are dying. But I think it's just the beginning of a change in Cuba.
Exactly.
I think that people are confused that it's new because COVID made it worse, but it's not because of COVID. I mean, the hospitals conditions are terrible. People are dying now because if they don't have a good, they don't have a good immune system. They don't have food. They don't have medicine. Of course, they are gonna die if they get sick, and that's what it made it worse. But it's not because of COVID. It's because, like it says, it's been happening for years, 62 years, and this is now COVID is something that, like I said, made it worse, but it's been happening.
But people were
forever.
dying in hospitals before, right?
Yes.
So what's the difference now? It's like COVID because
there are
so many at the same time.
They say that there are about 6,000 cases every day. And the conditions are terrible. People are sleeping on the floor. They're in the hospitals and they're waiting on the floor. And they don't have, not only that, they don't have enough doctors or nurses because they're all going to different countries, because that's another thing. They pay for their career to become doctors, but that's because they're slaves. They have to work. They send them to other countries. And the money that they make in those countries is for the government. So that's the way to
The reason they send
make money.
these doctors to other countries is just to promote socialist ideas in other countries like Nicaragua, Venezuela, and many other countries. And that's to prove that socialism doesn't work, because the government is not able to provide for the basic needs of the people. If you don't have a market economy, a free market economy, there's no way that just the government and socialism, as they promise, can just help them and just provide medical health, and there's no way that can happen.
So the fact that the government can't provide support or aid medically is not new either.
It's not new.
No.
So it's just because of COVID. Just like COVID brought to light a lot of things here también.
Because the thing is that there are so many cases that the hospitals don't have enough personnel. They don't have enough doctors and nurses, and they don't have resources. So now that's why it's getting worse, like I said. But it's been happening.
But they
for
never
a long
have.
time.
Exactly. But now because of también technology, it just, I think it
And
made
the
it worse.
internet. Before, nobody knew what was happening in Cuba. But now, technology, social media, they are able to record what's happening with their cell phones. And that's how people know now more than
that's helped.
before.
That's helped a lot. Yeah.
But how do you guys feel? ¿Cómo se sienten? Aquí esto se puede hacer Spanglish, porque a
Ajá,
veces hay
sí.
que decir la cosa en español cuando se está hablando de Cuba, porque imagínate, eso no
Yeah, but I don't want to say about words
No,
in
you.
Spanish.
No, I know, because when you
Because
speak
if you
Spanish,
listen to all those Cubans on TV, I mean, it's anger they have inside,
It's
and
anger.
it sounds bad, even from me that I'm Cuban, but I feel the same way. It's like you. I mean, you want to call them names and all kinds of things. I don't blame them for that.
Now, what was your question? ¿Cuál es tu pregunta?
yeah, I'll go to that. But they say that Cubans are vulgar, but there's a reason for that.
There's a reason for that, because they've been holding that in for years.
Yeah.
That I mean, that longing for freedom, and now they're seeing that there's a chance to do something, and all that is coming out spontaneously. Like, I want to just say something. I want to curse. I want to just send them to hell in a way.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna ask is that how do you guys feel viendo la gente ahora mismo acting like they care and like they know what's going on when you guys have been going through this for all your life, even here in the U.S. You guys still feel the effects of just still, being Cuban immigrants and Cuban Americans. You still feel it, and regardless, of where you are, the effects kind of follow you. You're now more in control. Obviously, you have freedom, but it's still something that lasts you forever. Even me, the way that I am, a lot of it has to do with the background, like what you guys went through. Just because obviously you guys raised me, so I see the. I don't know how to say that. Not just the difference in your eyes, the way that you see life, the way you speak. That's what I adapted growing up. So it all just really contributes to who we are, right? But how do you guys feel seeing now everybody being so into it when you have been going through it forever? Como ahora, tú sabes, algo ha existido tanto tiempo y ahora mismo todo el mundo as if like, oh, now it's going on. How does it feel? Are you angry or
In a way that people didn't know about this before, but at the same time, it's encouraging that people are just seeing it now. So that's the good part.
Positive way to see it.
Positive way to see it. You see, I'm being positive here.
From my side, I get very upset when I post something on Facebook because my friends, they make jokes about it. They say, "Tú eres bien política," y se ríen. And I said, I have to be because I came from a country where I couldn't speak I couldn't say what I think, so I couldn't express myself. So now here that I have freedom of speech, I have to do it. So nobody's going to stop that. So when I post something mostly about this country, things that are happening here in this country, because a lot of people here in this country want to be socialist as a new trend now, especially with this government, they don't like it or they don't care. They ignore it. They just like when you post something about a nice picture and you go to a place or a trip and you post a picture and they like it. But then you post something good information and they ignore it. People in this country are very ignorant. They don't know about anything that is happening in the world. And I like the fact that you said in the podcast that you talk about when there is a new trend in social media, everybody talks about it. In the meantime, nobody cares. And I'm a little bit happy that this is something that is now, people are getting to know what is happening in Cuba now because of everybody's, in Cuba is protesting. But before that, people were suffering. And I know this because my sister lives in Cuba. She has cancer and she has gone through a lot. And if it's not because we are able to help her, she could have died. She doesn't,
And she still can.
and she
Oh,
can
yeah.
still die because right now they don't have money to buy any food. They don't have money to buy anything. So when I tell this to my coworkers, everybody's like, pobrecita, I see, pobrecita, but nobody cares.
Like
they don't care. And they don't think that it can happen in this country. And when I say
And that's
it
the
can
scary
happen
part. They
in
think
this
it's not going to happen
country,
here, but it's happening.
they say, ay no, este país nunca puede pasar eso. You know what? Yes, it can happen because it's already happening. Slowly, and it's not the same way because it's another century, but it's happening. And it bothers me that they were so blind and they didn't care. And now all of a sudden, because it's in social media and everybody's like, oh, pobrecito, la gente de Cuba. Yeah, but they've been suffering for a long time. And it's good to get informed
The thing is like,
because it can happen here as well.
you have to care about your own country, right? You can't always care about what's going on internationally because you have to focus on where you live and all that. Pero we can learn from other countries, and that's what we failed. We've only depended on what we've learned from school and now social media. There's a lot, there's not a lot, opposite. There's very few people that como que tienen ese motivation on their own to look up things of what's going on, because like you said,
It's an instinct that they have.
like when you talk about Cuba to other people, es como que they're just like, oh my God, that's so sad, oh that sucks. But I don't know why it hasn't hit them like the Holocaust hit them or like other things have. It's just that I don't know if it's because Cuba's an island, so it could easily just be appealing and kind of disguised, or no sé, but people have not, and I said this in my video where people just, took advantage when Obama allowed travel, went to Cuba, they enjoyed it. A lot of influencers, celebrities, and people that I know that now are caring and reposting SOS Cuba and all that. People, either they had friends that went to Cuba and enjoyed it like a vacation. And how do you not see how that is contributing to the oppression? Like, it's like me right now traveling to North Korea. Why am I going to do that? Why am I going to do that when I know that the whole country as a whole, it's not just like some countries that have rich people, have middle class, and have poverty. No, it's a whole country that is suffering because of one person or a group of people. And like, how do you go and travel and act like you're on vacation and nothing? So it is frustrating. Like you said, it's good because at least it's happening. But then you think about all the years that have been wasted on like just not being informed.
In a way, I'm sorry.
No,
I don't blame them because it's like the education system has failed to the American people, and that's what they have been learning in school and in college and all that. So in a way, I don't blame them. So probably this is like an open door for people to understand. And I also say that Fidel Castro, he did a good job isolating Cuba from the rest of the world.
Oh, yeah.
And the reality, by just presenting Cuba as an example of freedom, that we were so proud of having such a freedom that we had, which is not. It was never the case. And we had to take that to other countries. So that was the idea, that was the narrative that they had. So the same thing with the healthcare. They just presented it as something that we had all the potential and equal, and it's not. And it was never like that.
And to add to that, today I was listening to a person talking about what a dictatorship is. And some people, because it has happened to me, they say, no, but in Cuba, free healthcare, free education, you guys, the government provides for you. And I said, yes. But then I say yes, but then on the other hand, they own you. That's why they do, to own you.
Exactly.
And so I was listening to this person, and he was saying that's the real dictatorship. They provide everything for you because that's a way to enslave you, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's a way to manipulate you, and that's a way to control you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, it looks nice that they give you free healthcare and free education,
available to
equal equality, whatever, which is not equal, but at all. But
doesn't exist.
it's a way to control you. It's a way to own you. You don't have the right to run for government, or you don't have there are no elections there. There are no. I mean, you are just a person, a regular person that doesn't have the power to be elected one day, or to have your own decisions. So that's a real dictatorship. Yes, you have free healthcare, which is terrible because I experienced that
The
when
only
I had when I, you know.
and the
but-
only reason they could provide that for a certain amount of time was because Russia was. I mean, Cuba was a. I'll just put it that way. It was a military base for the Russians. So the Russians had a lot of special interest in Cuba, and they helped Fidel Castro, and that he could provide some health care to Cubans, and for a certain amount of time. So after that, everything just it got worse and worse, and until today.
Russian lullabies.
Yeah, it was just.
And like with the doctors,
was a
they
joke.
pay for their career, but then that's because they are going to make money out of that. They are using.
So, and you have people here like Bernie Sanders that he, I just heard that he said that he supports what's happening in Cuba, the protests and all that, but not everything is wrong about Cuba. So I think everything's wrong.
But it's because
With the government, everything is wrong.
because they have to defend socialism somehow. You know, they
And
have
that's
to
very
leave some
sad.
hope.
Because that's their
Because
idea,
Bernie
that's their
Sanders,
agenda.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and all these people that want democratic socialism, you know,
Yeah.
the fact that Cuba, what's happening in Cuba right now, that's not in their favor. It's not in their favor of their agenda. So yes, they have to like call it out, because then they're gonna get canceled, which is now that's what it's called in this culture. So they're gonna get canceled. They don't say something, but at the same time, they don't want people to forget about the hope of democratic socialism. So they have to hold on to something, or find like a silver lining in what's going on, or like maybe they're gonna start saying that it's just that Cuba didn't do it right, or something like that. They're gonna start saying that, and that's why we're doing this now, because as soon as the national media takes over, yeah, se acabó. But I wanted to ask, what's the difference between what's going on, and I know this because I've listened to you guys for all my life, but what's the difference? How bad do you think things have changed from when you were in Cuba till now? Like, do you think it's changed at all, or is it the same? Like, is like the oppression changed drastically, or yeah?
Well, there is always been oppression. The lack of food, the lack of medicine, the lack of everything it hasn't changed. It doesn't get better; it gets worse. But it's the same. I mean, like when we were there were no.
Yeah, it's the same policy. It's just
It's
time.
the same thing. It's the same
Times
thing.
change, and they're probably gonna have to, adapt it to it. But I mean, it's just it's the same policy.
The only difference is like now people have more access to social media that we didn't have before. And that's the only difference. But it's the same lack of everything. Like
So-
nothing has changed.
So now all over the news though, and like any our YouTube channels and all that, they're saying that there's no food, and there's no food, and there's no food. They keep saying these things, and it's making it sound as if it's new, and if it's something
agree
is
with you.
now.
I agree with
Mm.
you.
Even something as simple as that is going to shape or alter the way people see the situation, because if people are going on the news and they're saying good things, like
I
they're
got a
speaking
story on
against.
that.
Go
A
ahead.
friend of mine, I mean, someone that I met here when I came, he asked me, "Why do you don't talk about the lack of food and basic needs that you have in Cuba?" I said, "Because that's not important to me. That's been happening since I was born. So that's not important, because I know that everything else will come with the new system. But I mean, it's just something else. It's just the political system is what I'm
Lack of
really
freedom.
lack of freedom. That's what I should complain about, and not just not
As a
having
whole.
food or. So yeah, you're right about that. I've noticed that on the media that people just think about all these people don't have food, they don't have clothing. That's not important, because
It's
It is.
it is
no,
important.
no, no. But I know what he's saying is because the root of the problem
The root of the problem is
isn't that
just-
there's no
it's-
food.
it's-
There's something. If you focus on the political issue, then the
That's what
food
you
and
have to
medicine all
focus
will
on.
be resolved.
That's what I'm saying. So
But
it's
like,
not-
forget about
It's
that.
the
That's
lack
not
of
new.
It's a lack of opportunities. It's a lack of everything. You don't have.
In other
You're like a
words-
puppet. You're nobody. You're nobody. You are just living your life on a daily basis, thinking about how you're gonna survive. What are you gonna eat next? How are you gonna find what you're gonna eat? And that's like your day goes by like that, thinking about how you're going to survive. But there's no freedom at all. There's no, like right now, yes, some things have changed. Like some people can travel to different places, which
Yeah.
we didn't know that, to different countries. But then, where are they gonna get the money from? Like they don't get paid in euros or dollars or whatever, so they have to depend on the people from here, from the United States, the family members who send them money, or they can also sell things in the black market, like we used to do to survive, and that's how they can make their living. But how are they going to afford a trip to any other country if they don't have a job that can get paid, in dollars or euros? Or
Exactly.
right now it's euros.
And that is something new to us, because I mean, we never had that experience in Cuba.
I mean, how they
So
they
for
can't
us, after
afford
being
that.
here for for 20-something years, it's like that's something new. I never thought that Cuban. It was actually new for me, knowing that Cubans can travel to other countries. I don't know how they do that.
There is a list of a lot of countries, including Russia, by the way, where they can travel without a visa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got excited about it because we thought, okay, maybe we can we can meet our cousins over there, but then we're gonna have to pay for everything
Exactly.
because they don't have any, they don't have any money, they don't have anything. And we're not rich, and it's gonna be impossible because paying for ourselves plus paying for them,
Yeah.
it's
And
it's not, that's not the right way to go.
We have to get our Cuban passports if we do that. No, it's just our American. We could use it.
No, we have to get Cuban
No,
passport.
no, not to go to those countries.
Oh,
That's
well,
only for Cuba.
That's a plus. We'll save money there.
I mean, yeah, we don't have to get the
Yeah,
Cuban
but that's-
passport to go
Of
there.
course, it's not right. So let's take it back. I was gonna say take it back a little bit. No, I'll take it back way back. What were things that Fidel Castro did or said? And obviously he did so many things and said so many things. But what do you feel that was like the very significant things that he said that just by him, using that strategy or whatever, like easily got to the people and influenced them into believing him, like, and you could say it in Spanish or whatever, however. Las cosas más principales que dijo y usó para
I think it's just
because obviously he came into power when you guys were still young, but you still had to repeat and live out these things and repeat these things and continue the revolution's
Taking
message and all that stuff.
like
I don't know,
taking
it's-
from the rich people to give it to the poor people, and the poor people believing in him because they
Yeah.
got everything for free because they were taking it from the rich people. So if he was rich,
in other words, just creating this victim
mentality.
that you are a victim, you don't have this because these rich people are taking it away from you. The revolution for the people, and you guys are important, not those in the elite. So what I mean? It's
Elite.
Just, yeah.
And also, it's a whole system that he created because I was one of them. I was indoctrinated since I was in school. And my father was a communist, your grandpa. And because I wanted to
R.I.P.
please, yes, he was my daddy, mi papa. I always wanted to please him. Since I was in school, I believed in Fidel Castro, and I was indoctrinated. And all you hear in Cuba is Patria o muerte venceremos, pioneros por el comunismo,
Stop right there.
seremos como el Che.
Pero
Ajá.
say it again.
Patria o muerte, venceremos.
And that's why people, just for reference real quick, that's why people are saying patria y vida right now, to be able to like just kind of take over that saying and switch it to what should be instead of what Fidel Castro wanted, whatever.
So everything starts in the schools. Since you're a little kid, since kindergarten, and you are indoctrinated by the government, by everybody. Also in the neighborhoods, everybody's afraid of their neighbor because their neighbor is a communist, and if you don't attend to the meetings that they had every month, then they see you like, okay, this one is against the government. You can even go to jail. You can be arrested. You can be. I mean, it's.
And that's the way they saw me since I was 13 years old.
Exactly. So creating
'Cause
that
I
system.
never attended to the meetings, and I was just always reluctant to get together with them, and I would just walk away when they were just having these meetings. I would just walk away, and they would look at me like, "Look at that guy. We gotta do something about him."
Complete opposite.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
a communist.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believed
it
in
was-
Fidel Castro was I always tell that to my friends. He was my father, and my mother was the revolution, and my real mom and my real father were secondary.
But not just you, just everybody else. But that's what they wanted.
Most of
everybody
us.
else.
I mean, you're an exception.
I remember that one New Year's Eve, at the end of at 12 o'clock, Fidel Castro will always make a speech. Remember that? And just like reminding us of the beautiful things that we had in Cuba, of the freedom that we have and all that. And just making sure that he was there for another year. Just like, and I remember they were celebrating, most of the neighbors, and they were celebrating, and I just grabbed
I remember that night.
a bottle of beer, and just threw it to them. Bah! And exploded in the middle of the meeting, the celebration they were having. And my dad just brought me into the house, and he told me, "You're crazy. Don't do that again. You're gonna get killed." I said, "I don't care. I mean, I don't want to hear this again." So every year was the same thing. He would remind you that I'm still here. This is another year, and
I have the power. I have the control.
I'm in control.
I'm in control.
So, you guys should be
But
happy.
yeah, it's going back to your question. So he was always like, we have to defend the revolution because the revolution the revolution is giving you everything, and what you have is because of the revolution, and that's indoctrination. So I really thought that everything I had is because of Fidel Castro, like everything and we also never had any, like, 2 channels only. So channel 2 and channel 6, right? Remember?
Yeah.
We couldn't hear anything. I mean, tú no, porque tú eres una excepción, pero
I'll
yo,
marry you then, because I mean, it's just like I was just the opposite.
bueno, God put you in my way, so
that she couldn't
I
be
can wake
communist.
up.
So, yeah, so that she's not communist.
No,
anymore.
but for real. So you are in a country, now it's different. That, in that sense. Like right now, there is internet and everybody knows what is happening in the world. But before, I only knew about Cuba. Yes, I knew the American songs and the movies and all that. That's fine, but that's it. Well, some songs were even
Because
prohibited.
Cubans, we've always been very close to the
Cuba.
United States in so many ways. Culture, and then we always look up to the freedom that we have here. So America was an example for us in a way. That was just embedded in us from previous generations of Cuban.
previous,
Yeah, previous.
because Fidel Castro.
I'm talking about my parents, my
Didn't want
grandparents. Because I remember growing up just listening to this word that I always have in my mind, antes, before.
Before.
Antes, everything was better. Antes, I would go to the store and I would get this and this and that. I said, why, if antes or before was so good, why we changed it? Why do we have this now? I don't get it. So
Yeah.
I remember just the grown-ups
never had
telling me,
that. I
whatever we
always-
talk about it here in the house, please don't go and tell your friends in school because you're gonna get in trouble, and we're gonna get in trouble. So
I was
you know,
a leader. I was always involved in all the meetings, but I was never a chivata. No, eso no.
What's that? When I know, like
chivata is a telling on
It's an
people.
informer.
Oh, sí, sí, sí.
It's an informer.
Como una-
Someone
No, I was never like that. They called me. I mean, they made me cry when I was in 10th grade, 11th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, because I was from the Communist Party, La Unión de Jóvenes Comunistas, and I remember that day that my own
Classmates.
yeah, the classmates made me cry because they wanted me to be combatiente. Combative, meaning that I had to, like, if the teacher was teaching and nobody was listening to the teacher, I had to stand up and say, hey, everybody listen to the teacher, blah, blah, blah. So I had to be, because
get
that's
that
a
a
way
lot.
to
Because
be.
that's training you
That's
to
training you.
be that for
Exactly. So
the
that's a way to
revolution.
defend the revolution, to defend.
That's training
so,
you to be
but
against your own people.
But that wasn't my
And that's what's happening now.
personality.
That's what's happening now.
Yes, but that wasn't my personality, because even though I was in a communist party, I wasn't like that. I was a quiet person. I was a quiet student, and I never liked to do that. So they made me cry. They were all on top of me, telling me that I was not a good student, that I was not defending the revolution because I wasn't combatiente, combative.
You weren't.
I were not.
Yeah.
So they made me cry because they made me feel like I was the worst of, like, that I was terrible.
I didn't cry, and I got that a lot.
Yeah, but
I
cared
was so
because
proud that they would call
two
me names
different
and
That's
stuff.
what I lived all my life. So now that we have a little bit of a background, because let me tell you, these
there are a lot of things to say.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time.
So these stories, this is just a few of what I've heard all my life. Like, not even few. I feel like this is 1% of the things that you guys went through, what you've mentioned here. But now that we have a little bit of a background, what do you think is happening now and next? Now and next, because this is, I don't even know when this is going to end. I think that this is just the beginning. This is the beginning of an end. Of the end. But then this is just going to be a whole other thing. What do you think?
I don't know. I think for me, I think it's too early to.
It's too early.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I said. It's something new. It's something good that this is happening. It's just meant to happen.
But that's what's crazy. Everyone's like suffering because it's like they're seeing what's going on in Cuba and like, oh my gosh, and it's actually good. And I don't. You guys, we talk about this all the time. There has to be blood. Every civil war, Cuba never really evolved with the rest of the world. So them fighting right now is like what the U.S. went through hundreds of years ago. So it's like now, it's their time to go through a war, a civil war, and that's the only way. There's no way for this to be peaceful because if they didn't start this peacefully.
It's not gonna be peaceful.
And the way these people, the people that we're dealing with, isn't just people that are just gonna step down. If they step down, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's actually probably impossible, knowing how they are. Do you think they're just gonna step down? Like from power.
If the people continue doing what they're doing, and they get support from the United States and from the international community, they're gonna have to step
But they
down.
need that support. They do need
But
that
they do
support.
need that.
But there's gonna be some blood, is what I'm saying. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
gonna
Blood
it's
is just
been.
something that it's
It's
gonna
already
be blood.
been.
It's
So
gonna
people
be-
are suffering because
And
they're
it's gonna be
seeing and they're
blood
like
after that.
sad. Pero es que this has to be part of it. Unfortunately, obviously, it hurts to say that, to think that some people are gonna die and be hurt. Pero es lo que they don't have anything to defend themselves with.
No, they don't have arms. So that's why it's important that the United States support them, and the international community support the people in Cuba, because they're being killed. They are being killed, and they are being. And they started everything very peacefully, but then they've been oppressed, and they are being beaten to death. So that's why it's important that the United States intervene. I don't know how, but they should do something, and they should do
If
something
not, we
now.
Cubans, we're gonna do it.
Because
Our
they
own
don't have
way.
the Cubans. They don't the Cuban people don't have the resources. All they have is themselves right now. They don't have the resources.
And people, we've done it for other countries. We've done it for people in
We've
the
done it
countries
for-
in the Middle East.
Me and your
and
mom, we were
We were talking about
it on
that.
the way.
I asked him why, if they do it for, they intervene in Iraq or Iran or Middle East countries, why they are not doing it with Cuba? What's the difference?
because
Why?
why do you think?
Because I think they don't want to kill the narrative that they have that socialism
I don't understand
works,
it.
and that's what we have in the Democrat Party nowadays. Is that let's just face it, we don't have those moderate, Democrats like we had, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago. What we have now are just socialists, leftists.
Mm-hmm.
So
So do you think Cuba is an example for us? Because
I've
it's
always
really
said that.
it is obviously, but I just feel like it's very probably non-emotional or selfish to say that we should use Cuba as an example right now. Because it's like, well, I mean, why are we trying to use it as an example? Let's just focus on Cuba and support them and forget about a teaching moment right now. But there always is. The reason why we don't take these things as teaching moments is that's why we repeat history over and over again. So while this is happening, we need to start reflecting and help Cuba, support Cuba, be aware, but then,
Also use it as a learning, it's a lesson that we have to learn from Cuba. Cuba is right now divided, very divided, because Cubans are killing Cubans because the military and the civil, like the Cubans, regular people, el
Civilians,
pueblo,
I mean.
the civilians, they're killing, they're communists and they're killing their own people. And in this country, they're trying to divide this country as well. The left is trying to divide this country as well with the critical race theory, teaching that in the schools, dividing people in the schools, and that's how everything starts, little
That's
by
the
little.
seed.
and the way that I see it is
Doing
that
that in the schools and creating that division. If they do that in this country, then we're already
We're-
divided. But if they let it go and it gets worse, then
And even
We're gonna be
excuse me,
screwed.
What's the name of these
As a country.
socialists? Vladimir Lenin. I don't know exactly what he said, but it's something like this: you give me a generation of young people for 4 years, and I will change their minds forever.
and that's what happened in Cuba.
And
I
that's
was
what
one of
happened in
them.
Cuba. And that's what
Well,
happened
not
in here.
forever.
not forever. And the way that I see it is that humans are humans everywhere. No matter what country you are, what race, what ethnicity, nationality, you are a human. We're all the same. In that sense, we're all human. So the tendencies, the things that are in our nature are all there. And so we need to learn from each other no matter where you are. So saying that it's not going to happen here, you're just being naive because yes, we're taught to there's a system and there's things in place and there's people in place and there's a democracy and we're united. And all that can go away. If it went away in countries that were perfectly, not
Yeah.
perfectly, nothing's perfect, but if there was a country like Cuba that was working well and all that, it can happen anywhere. And obviously there's differences, obviously. But it could still happen.
It can happen if the
it can happen
government-
decades from now, or it can happen tomorrow. But regardless, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to learn about other countries and use that as a.
If the government here
So we
gets
are
bigger,
the guinea pigs. We just we're here for a reason to give.
We are the best country in the world,
give
but
up-
that can be.
No, I mean Cubans.
Oh,
What
Cubans are guinea pigs?
Yeah. We're here just to, in a way, that's what I thought when I was very young. I said, I think the United States, and that's what I thought back then, is not helping us to get rid of the Castro because they want to use Cuba as an example that socialism doesn't work. That's what I thought, I don't know, almost 30 years ago.
That's still happening.
And
what
it's
is
still
happening right now, it's good. And of course it's good because the Cuban people are, doing something now. against a dictatorship. But not only because of that, but also because I think that if Cuba now gets its freedom, it's going to happen then in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And then it's going to happen also in Nicaragua. So it's not only going to happen in Cuba, but it's going to happen in those countries as well.
The same effect that socialism had that spread, it could be the opposite too.
See, I mean, how insane it is that a family, it's just, it's a mafia.
Castro.
The Castros, I mean, the Castro family,
now
they run the country. They have been in power for 2 years, generations after generations. I mean, it's crazy.
All I can
Does
say,
it make sense
no,
to you?
none
Not
of
at
it.
all?
None of it does.
None of it does.
They're just as human as we are. We can definitely take them down. What is your lasting message for Cubans right now?
For Cubans to be united.
Pero dilo en español porque si hay un cubano que oye esto, aunque no sé si que cubano va a esperar que... We'll say,
cubanos,
we'll put this, ponemos esto in the beginning.
los cubanos pues tienen que dejar los rencores y unirse. They have to be united. This is a time to be united and just forget about the past and just pull this together. But
Yo
it's not gonna be easy.
sé que es duro porque de verdad que yo no quisiera estar pasando por eso como madre, saber o como esposa que me puedan matar a mi hijo o a mi esposo. Es terrible. Pero este es el momento. Si no lo hacen ahora y si no siguen las calles ahora, pues no va a volver a pasar. Y no es el momento de venir a los Estados Unidos. Porque si vienen para acá, no se va a resolver nada. Va entonces a pasar 60 años más y va a ser igual. So es el momento y hay que mantenerse unidos, como tú dices. Porque si se separan, olvídate.
Y no quieren un marido.
I don't want to break the rules in this country because I respect and I love this country. But if they don't do anything, Cubans are ready. And
Yeah.
I'm against that, but in a way I'm considering. I mean, if the United States doesn't help Cuba,
If Biden doesn't help them, screw
you know
Biden.
what, girl, I'm going to get on the boat.
Okay.
I'm going to get on the boat and I have to do something.
Alright,
Because I'm not going to be here in the house in Austin having a good time. I have to go to Cuba and do
Bueno,
something.
all right. Ya,
So,
vamos a darle... ¿Ya? ¿Qué más
I'm
quieren
going to
decir?
light up my cigar.
There you go.
Patria y vida.
Patria y vida.
Amén.
Abajo Fidel Castro.
No es Castro, ya es Canel.
La
y toda
dictadura.
hijo de la gran puta. Ups.
Oops.